Dang, my apologies. I realized my mic wasn't on. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad I figured that out early, huh? I just got done watching the same episode y'all just got done watching, and I'm very disappointed in production. They let Monte off the hook. And that's why in this rant, the ninth rant of Big Brother 24, entitled Screw the Pooch, we're not only going to hold Monte accountable, but we're also going to break down how these live feeds shook out. Now, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow night we will not be getting a live eviction. The episode has been pushed back until Sunday for some 2-hour special that's very mischievous, to say the least. That needs to be stated right now. The reason why I'm so disappointed in production is because by them not holding Monte accountable during the first 2 hours of footage from this week, they are forced to backload everything into Sunday's episode. And depending on who wins HOH, we know production won't show the lowlights if Monte wins HOH. And that is the reason why I'm pissed. But without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the critically acclaimed The Pop the Trunk podcast, now Patreon exclusively sponsored Hall of Fame, Delaware Smash, Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. I'm of course your humble host, Dave Smith, Pretty Boy Smitty, Protocol Paul, Pearl Game Ultra, Smid Dog Trio, The Rant God, Hotep Thanos, Throne Thanos, Metro Kaiba, the Pro Black Prodigy, the Shadow Realm Shaman, the Pronoun Punisher, the No Sleep Assassin, he who cannot be canceled, the Apex Analyst, here to bring balance back to Big Brother 24, since we can't depend on production to tell the truth anymore. All of the above on that ISAT test and ACT hardcore. You know what it is. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're back for the ninth one. I know I've been gone for a few days. I know y'all miss me in these streets. But don't worry, I'm back here to regulate. Shoutouts to Warren G. Now what y'all need to understand is, Monte has lost his mind this week. And that's why a lot of fans who have stayed keyed into these live feeds don't understand how he's been invisible in the edit the first couple of episodes. Literally, Monte's game has been so shambolic. Like, he has lost the plot completely. And I've watched every day of feeds. I missed some things here and there, but I got the gist of everything, and I set y'all up really well on Saturday. The fact that I could take 3 days in a row off, that's just a testament to how well I prepare all of y'all for what's going on. But, with that said, let's go ahead and bring you all warp speed up to what's going on in that house. Understand, Monte, because he has this vendetta towards Taylor that we still don't understand. Now, news has been let out the bag. I don't know if this is true, so I'm going to say allegedly Monte has some ex-girlfriend named Taylor who was a black woman, and she must have did a number on him. So it's starting to add up more to us. This is baggage he's bringing into the game. He sees another woman named Taylor. Production probably chose Taylor because they knew about his history of having an ex named Taylor. So it adds up. But understand, last week Monte went out of his way to try to get, he basically tried to acquiesce to the wishes of Paloma, do everything he could to make her feel secure. He ran information to her that was premature. He didn't have to tell her what Taylor told him. And Taylor said nothing definitively. She implied that women could end up working together if you men stay upstairs. The ironic thing about this week is, now that a woman's in charge and in power, the women are upstairs, and all the men are stuck downstairs. And now you see the same men who saw nothing wrong with what they did week one. Now they are bitching and moaning. Excuse my French. But they are moaning. They are making victim noises over the fact that they're getting hit with the same energy. And that's the most funniest thing about it, right? When Daniel was HOH and y'all was up there, now granted, a lot of those men were up there because they were have-nots as well. I'm aware of that. But with that said, there's also 3 men who are have-nots this week. They're still downstairs most of the time, so there's no excuses, okay? At the end of the day, people, it's easy for someone to treat you like trash. The minute you redirect that energy back at them, all of a sudden they want to cry uncle. Now, like I've said, Paloma's gone. And post-Paloma, Monte's game is in the Hunger Games. Because he basically, week one, he basically went out of his way to put all of his stock into the I hate Taylor bag and I worship the ground Paloma walks on bag. Well, Paloma's gone. So a lot of what he was building towards to make it to this week no longer exists. All those other women, they have already pivoted. They see the value in Taylor because Monte built the foundation of his game around hating Taylor. He doesn't see it as quickly as the women see it, that he needs to bury the hatchet and work with her too. Plus, he's stubborn, and he may have an ex named Taylor, and this could be playing a role in his psyche. Now, we know he snitched on Taylor. We know he's part of the reason why she's in her own inferno. But we also know, because of the last rant I provided for you all, that Taylor is working her way up, which naturally is leading to Monte fall down, okay? It's like a stock market in a sense. For every rise, you have to have a fall. You need balance in these streets. Monte could have provided balance for his game by extending an arm to Taylor as early as the beginning of the week, knowing Paloma is no longer gone. He doesn't have to live up to what he told Paloma Taylor said to him, but instead he became stubborn. Instead, he decided, even though Joe made the idiotic decision of volunteering to touch the block, we should give this white man another chance at this game. Which doesn't make any sense because last week Monte was okay with letting Joe go. But he was under the assumption Taylor would leave on top of Paloma. Now that Taylor's around, all of a sudden he wants Joe to stick around, and this shows how off code the man is. Now, my biggest problem with Monte, listen, let's just talk about the elephant in the room here. He's mad that the women have joined forces to keep Taylor, and they have created this new narrative, and I quote, narrative that Joe has to go because he's volunteered. The women are creating the narrative that the house has agreed that Joe needs to go. Monte believes, hey, I'm part of this 6-person alliance. Sounds like the name of it is Post Paloma, if I'm being honest. I still don't know what production is telling us that alliance name is. You're either Mamba or Post Paloma. But with that said, you got to understand, Monte's butthurt over the fact that 3 women, because you know he included Nicole in the 6. So soon as he includes Nicole, Nicole starts working for Taylor's best interest, not his own. He thinks, hey, I included you over Taylor, so you should be doing my bidding, not Taylor's. So his pride took a hit because he thought he was doing something slick, and now he just looks like a henchman of all these chicks. See, I'm rhyming on accident, but I need y'all to understand, this is why he's so salty. He's seeing his game go from the front seat to the back seat. So he allows Nicole in the alliance. Kyle and Alyssa, mainly Kyle and Alyssa were immediately like, I don't know if we made the right decision with Nicole here. And I told you all that showmance is happening, and it's slowly but surely beginning to happen. But we haven't seen nothing confirmed just yet. Just know Alyssa's thirsty. All right, she's ready to risk it all type settings. I think she might betray the women's alliance entirely for that man, Kyle. That's how bad she's jonesing. But I don't want to lose myself on Monte here. Huh? We got to bring the smoke to his front door. So what you got to understand is Monte is now ticked off at the women because now he's starting to believe there must be a women's alliance. Because how could 5 women just decide what the house is going to do this week out of the blue? Now, the most ironic part about all this is he decided to throw Taylor under the bus to Paloma because Taylor gave him truthful intel about the women possibly aligning. This guy disregarded it. He decided Taylor was an op. He decided to run the information to the head honcho of all the women at the time, Paloma. Paloma redirected it back at Taylor, which guaranteed Taylor was going to go, if not for the backstage flopping. But with that said, understand, if this man Monte would have just listened to Taylor week 1, he doesn't look as stupid as he looks week 2. And see, that is what I got to mention before anything else. Taylor gave you the prima strategy guide to beat the game. Your ass said, nah, I don't want your strategy guide, B. I'm going to beat it on my own. Then when you get to playing the game and you realize it's on the Dark Souls Elden Ring side of things, now you like, Taylor, can I have that strategy guide back? That's what we see. That's what we see, Monte. She gave you key information that your black ass needed to hear. You didn't want to listen to it. You didn't want to listen. You thought you were so superior of a player. Whatever Taylor has to tell you will just hurt your game. I don't even want anyone to think I'm into black meat. That's how you played it, Monte. Just for you to end up a week later ruining your game in the process of trying to turn all these women back on the same girl again. And here's the thing. Paloma already left. It makes sense for all the women, even if they don't like Taylor, to understand 2 women cannot start off this game leaving. That's too much of a deficit. We are 25% down compared to the men when that happens. Monte's out here he's having a freak out over the idea of men having 7 left and women having 7 left. So isn't he just justifying why the women are concerned with having 6 versus 8? But once again, you can't tell Monte shit because he's living in Monte's world, Monte's playhouse. He's like Pee-wee. Now, understand. So he disregarded what Taylor had to say, only to realize she told him the truth because all of these same women that wanted her gone, that he was pandering to, now all of them want her to stay over Joe Pooch. Instead of Monte immediately realizing, oh, Taylor wasn't lying to me last week because there's clearly a girls' alliance pushing for a man to go home this week. He doesn't do that. He goes against the grain to fight for Taylor to stay against those same women, but never connects the dot the women's alliance truly exists until he keeps pushing and pushing and pushing, and Ameerah and Nicole put him in his place and say, hey, you win HOH, you go after Taylor. Until then, we gonna do what we gotta do this week. So this leads to Monte, oh man, even in more of a panic mode. Now I gotta bring all the men together. Oh, you talking about the men like Daniel, like Terrance, like Michael that you took for granted? Let's be real, he wouldn't even be aligned to Michael if Paloma didn't include him in Mamba initially. He had nothing developing with Michael, even though they shared the have-not room together. He was always more linked to Kyle, and even more so linked to Joseph. Same thing could be said for Terrance. Monte was okay with Terrance going home this week. He was okay with Taylor being the first boot, Terrance being the second boot, just as long as his black ass stuck around. These are all facts, not opinion. So the guy is completely full of crap. So for me to see him on live feeds, tell Ameerah, the one I would love to lose this game to a woman. More specifically, a black woman. And I'm over here like, wait. Motherfucker, you've been using this entire game so far to ruin the game of a black woman. What are you talking about, dog? See, now I gotta go ahead and dog walk somebody. Because the dude ain't making no sense. So when a black woman tell you something that's true, you don't believe it. Then when women tell you a woman ain't going home, then you believe it. But you still push for the black woman to go home. Then when you're in front of Ameerah, who's half black, now you say you would love to lose to a black woman. But you literally have been fighting a black woman who's protecting a black woman this week. It doesn't make any sense. That's why them omitting him from the edit, that's foul to me. That's foul. Because it's not going to make much sense to the casual fan Sunday's episode if Monte ends up on the block and y'all ain't documented none of this stuff until Sunday. It's not going to make much sense. Because I'll tell you this, Taylor ain't the only one willing to take him out now. And see, that's Monte's biggest problem, right? The man risked a game that was, like I said, he had all the centrifugal force. He was in the middle of everything last week. But see, Paloma leaving, that's why I did the Impact of Paloma rant. I knew her leaving would have a lot of people who were on the beach the first week. Now you got to get to work. And see, for a lot of players, just because they are attractive, the beginning of the game is easy. That's why I use the initial threat level in my worst to first analysis, because the initial threat level is bad initially, but if you can make it to the end with that being part of your narrative, it's great to help you win at the end. That's why it helps you score high, but if you have a low initial threat level, you making the end is less difficult, so people look at your game with less enthusiasm. So we have a hypocrite in this guy, Monte, who's really, when you really break it down, a dictator. He acts as if he can work with women, but if someone like Michael does, and it's outside the alliance, he's out of pocket. He acts like Daniel and Terrance should be loyal to him and the rest of the men in Oasis, which now might be called Founding Fathers, all these toxic names. But understand, Daniel chose to be more loyal to Mamba than be loyal to the men's alliance. If he would have just ensured something when Daniel was the HOH, a real men's alliance back then, I'd argue it'd be a lot easier for him to pull all the men in this week. But because he was playing both sides and he was leaning more towards working with the women because he had a crush on Paloma and Kyle had one on Alyssa, to me, this blinded their overall long-term game in favor of the butterflies in their tummy wanting them to play a high school-based short-term game. This brother disregarded Taylor. And see, the funniest part about it is, Terrance was the guy last week bashing Monte. He was bashing Taylor with Monte. This week, Terrance technically is on Taylor's side when you look at the numbers. Now Terrance and Taylor are on the side of the women. And now Monte has had to put his head down, and now he's forced to vote with everyone because he's heard his game enough already. When in all reality, all he had to do was be okay with letting Joe go. But see, him and Kyle were so busy. See, because they wanted to play both sides and they thought they had this game all figured out, this vote shakes out like this. Nicole, Ameerah, and Michael, it behooves them for Taylor to stay. Monte, Kyle, and Alyssa, it behooves those three for Joe to stay. The thing is, though, Alyssa's okay with letting Joe go, too. And because Alyssa wants Joe gone, Kyle now wants Joe gone. If Alyssa put her foot down and said Joe's staying, Kyle would be doing that. Kyle, you're really coming off as somebody who's simping and whipped. But, hey, it is what it is. If it helps you get to the end, so be it. But with that said, if the Women's Alliance does end up flopping, it's probably going to be Alyssa's fault, if I had to guess. It's probably going to be on her. But, so y'all need to understand that. You need to understand the fact that Monte has pretty much created his own grave. He's trying to dig his way out of that grave by now being okay with an outcome that was inevitable all week. He just kept fighting against it. And see, by him constantly fighting against it, now he's more on Nicole's radar than ever before. He's on Ameerah's radar than ever before. Now Jasmine doesn't really trust Monte anymore. And I thought that was the one person who might still give Monte the benefit of the doubt. So now if you got those three women against you, Jasmine, Ameerah, and Alyssa just formed a new 5-person alliance with Nicole and Daniel, and Terrance seems like an honorary 6th member of that group. When you really break it down, there's a lot of numbers forming on different sides that are kind of on the same side, but for this week, certain numbers are kind of scattered a little bit. But understand, Monte being unwilling to just allow things to go a certain way, to just let Taylor stay. Like the conversation that man had with her earlier today on feeds, talking about how Taylor basically was saying, hey, I would love to see you make jury, Terrance make jury, Jasmine make jury, Ameerah make jury. You know, and of course you got this guy Monte now creating the argument, I would love to lose to a woman, specifically a black woman. Bullshit, you wanted to lose to Paloma over all these sisters at first. Now all of a sudden you're grifting. But you got to understand, I don't know if production told Monte he's not liked. I don't know what's going on. Now this guy all of a sudden wants to have this about face. I don't believe it for a second. I think he wants Taylor to go into the next HOH comp thinking, oh, I don't have to win it because Monte isn't after me, so then Monte could gun super hard and go for her. That's what I think it's all about. Now, I do believe Kyle and Monte are getting on the radar of Nicole and Ameerah. I do believe Nicole and Ameerah played this week very well, but they may have overplayed a little bit too much. Them being up in the HOH excessively also was bad for their games, I'd argue, long term, but Ameerah has the built-in excuse of, hey, Jasmine has a hurt leg. She can't move around. We've got to be stuck in the HOH with her because that's where she wants to lounge. In theory, Ameerah has great on-the-fly excuses for why she plays the way she plays. I just don't think Nicole has the same built-in excuses. And that's why I'm kind of concerned that we could have a situation where Nicole, Ameerah, or Taylor goes home next week just because the men are so mad that they have been rendered powerless this week. Now, if I had to bet on it, I think we're more likely to see a Turner go home next week, possibly a Joseph go home next week. That's just based off the energy I'm reading from the live feeds. But with that said, certain players saying, hey, if I win HOH, I got to throw up Taylor next to Turner. I have to do it. And because Terrance is a devout member of the women's side at this point, giving away key information. I mean, with Monte, he went on this campaign trail. You would have thought he was running for president. I'm talking head of state Chris Rock type scenes. The man sits down with Daniel, who he doesn't know hates his ass. And we're going to get into Daniel being anti-black. Please do not donate on YouTube. They're going to try to copyright claim me for the video clip I'm going to bring up later. But understand, Daniel is sitting at the kitchen table. Hit up that Cash App. Daniel sitting at the kitchen table. Terrance is sitting at the kitchen table. Monte sitting at the kitchen table. Monte decides, ooh, all the women are upstairs. Everybody's a little scattered. This is the perfect time for me to bring up why you two men should go ahead and keep Joe. Because there's this conspiracy. And unless I'm stupid or something, there's something going on. And I don't think I'm stupid. I see something afoot. Now, if you would have just listened to Taylor, you would have known it was afoot last week. But you was too busy trying to kiss Paloma's foot. I'm just saying what it is. But, with that said, he speaks to Daniel and Terrance at the table, and he basically tries to convince them both, hey guys, we need to stay on code with each other. The men need each other in this game. I'm telling you, man, if one guy goes like Joe, before you know it, we lose another one, and we're just going to get pagonged back to back to back. He didn't say pagonged, but you get my point here. He's fear-mongering amongst the men, hoping it will rally them together. The problem is, Terrance is now linked at the hip with Nicole and Daniel. They're basically a trio at this point. Terrance knows he can never beat Monte in Final 2, so it doesn't behoove him to go to the end with Monte. So all of Monte's anti-black antics, they've almost backfired on him because now Terrance, he sees, oh, well, you're that anti-black, you'll just do me the same. And to be honest, he's already done you that way last week. But Monte's trying to get these two, who he doesn't know have already flipped, have already promised their votes to others. He's trying to get them to see that they need to keep Joe. You know, Joe Pucciarelli, the same guy who was okay with voting Terrance out over Michael week 1. Yeah, that guy. Somehow Terrance should want to risk his game for Joe Pucciarelli. Come on, man. Cry me a river there. And as for Daniel, he actually had an established relationship with Joe Pucciarelli, but he has a Final 2 deal with Nicole. How she feels takes precedence over what Joe Pucciarelli feels. And at the end of the day, Daniel wants to do anything that can hurt Monte's game. And Monte has been so obvious with his gameplay, everyone can tell taking out Joe weakens Monte. And because Monte didn't hide his hand better this week, everyone can have full confidence knowing that they're spot on with their assessment. And that's why, in my opinion, Monte, you have exposed yourself as an overrated player now. You might not make it in that power rankings again, coach. I don't care what nice things you whisper into Taylor's ear now. You're only doing that now because you've been found out. You're only doing that now because you knew she had the votes to stay. You're only doing that now because you would rather vote with the majority and bank on yourself to win HOH and hopefully you can earn all of that back than you voting with the men to keep up appearances. A woman wins HOH and now she has more of an excuse to nominate you. It all stems from cowardice at the end of the day. In my opinion, the way you flaked on Taylor to Paloma, that stemmed from cowardice too. So we're seeing a pattern of behavior now, which is difficult for the Deacon of Delaware to dodge. That alliteration. We're getting them. So you got to understand here. This guy screwed his game up because after week 1, he was sitting good. Taylor was sitting bad. Now Taylor is sitting good while on the block. Monte is sitting bad while off the block. And when you have Daniel, who wants Monte out, when you have Terrance, who is now snitching on Monte to the women, which contributed in Jasmine not liking Monte anymore either, pay attention. When you have Ameerah, also starting to see Monte who he is. Nicole, same thing. He's in for a rude awakening here. Because the only women I see really wanting to work with Monte heading into next week legitimately are Alyssa and Brittany and Indy. I could create the argument that is 2 of the 3 weakest women in the house from a competition standpoint. That's not a good sign for you, Monte. And when Brittany sees the value in Taylor, Brittany is probably going to choose Taylor over you if she has to choose. Now, Brittany's game is in shambles. We already know about the fact that she snitched on Ameerah to Joe Pucciarelli, so now Ameerah wants Brittany gone. But Brittany, I mean, she just rats people out all the damn time, man. She can't help herself. And I believe she tried to rat out Daniel and imply Daniel was going to throw a hinky vote towards Joe Pucciarelli. So now the women, they have flipped this whole situation. Oh, Brittany's trying to throw a hinky, frame it on Daniel. Brittany needs to go. So now Brittany's in trouble, okay? So the allies that are on the outs that you could argue Monte will need, they're not going to have the social clout or equity to be able to help him. They're better off letting him drown too. Now, where Monte could be helped in this game immensely is if Kyle or Alyssa or himself win the next HOH. Then I think he can recover from this. But if neither of those three win HOH, or Joseph or Turner, I think those five, I still don't believe Indy. I think Indy would get out of Turner next week. I don't believe she would take out a woman. I think it's too soon. And Indy's aware of the fact that if Brittany leaves, she could be next on the totem pole. And that's why I believe Brittany is aligning herself so closely with the Josephs of the world, the Montes and the Kyles. Number one, she knows Alyssa loves Kyle. So it just makes sense for Indy to be cool with the other two strong men that are close to Kyle. Makes sense to me. And with Joe leaving, Indy has no incentive to invest anything into him anymore. You know, they used to flirt and talk about sex late at night and all that stuff. Now, none of that stuff is applied no more. And let's just be real. Joe Pucciarelli knows that his game is on borrowed time. I mean, as early as Saturday night, after my rant, I'm watching feeds. His entire behavior is off. He was that cool guy who always had something slick to say with that New York accent. Now you could tell he's overthinking things a bit. He's trying not to piss people off. He's trying not to be offensive. But in him overthinking, people can see a vast change in his behavior. When people notice a vast change in you, they smell weakness. They smell blood. That's the one credit Taylor deserves a lot of credit for, in fact. She's been on the block twice. She's been backdoored with the intent to go home, survived. Now she's been thrown up again, and I got to give this lady credit. I mean, the composure she has shown us. Listen, even Joe Pucciarelli don't have that type of composure. We saw Terrance on the block. He changed up completely. He was bashing a black woman to survive. Michael's probably the only other person who was the same person on the block, and I think that's why he respects Taylor so much. He's starting to talk a little game with her. I thought it was dope during tonight's episode, Michael actually waited for Taylor to hit her ball because he wanted her to win veto. He was willing to throw it to her. I saw some people criticizing him, believing that that he didn't let Taylor make it to a new round in the pie eating contest. Now, we found out that wasn't true. So it's good to see that Michael actually did try to help Taylor win to take herself off. That way he didn't have to have all that extra blood on his hands. That shows me Michael will throw comps later down the road if it benefits him. So that's all positive signs. But for Michael's game, I really do feel like he's in a tug of war where the women pretty much have him on their side, but the men only value him now because they've seen him arrive. He's winning these comps. Now the men want to work with him. Now the men want his vote. But until he won those two comps, everyone thought he was a joke. So you got to understand, people are being fake across the board in this house. Turner ain't taking a damn shower. Listen, one day when Turner gets home and watches this edit, he's going to be so triggered about the fact that production shipped Joseph and Joe as a bromance before Turner and Joe. Turner been following this guy Joe around, not taking showers. The bottom of his feet look like Frodo Baggins straight out the Shire. Bars in these streets. Man look crazy. Samwise? Mr. Frodo, you look crazy as hell in these streets, Turner. You look crazy as hell in these streets, dog. Like, for real, dog. Are you trying to meet Sauron? Huh? Seriously, dog. Are you trying to avoid the eye in the sky? Like, I'm trying to figure this out. Bro, clean your ass, dog. You were giving us them Claire vibes from last season when she didn't clean her ass before she got sent to jury. Come on, man. And see, you not having proper hygiene, that's going to be why your ass isn't going to make jury. Everyone's saying, oh, I don't want Turner to make jury. I don't think he'll be a good juror. Urban translation, man, that boy stank. I can't deal with him another 6 weeks. You fella dig me? Dog, hit up production, ask them for the best body wash they got in the back. I don't care if it's cold water or not. White folks love the cold. Man, get your ass in that shower and clean up. You feel me? Dog, that's trifling. I can only imagine the pungent smell. They can't even go in the backyard? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. You feel it, dig me? That's that's insane, dog. Turner is acting as if the Big Brother house is prison. Like he's scared if he grabs the soap, he could drop it, and that's the end of his game. Boy, trust me when I say, no one's going to bother you if you go and reach to pick it up. In fact, we'll help you pick the shit up. You know what I'm saying? Just use it, coach. But that's what's going on there. But yeah, I really do think Turner is going to be salty about the fact that production views Joseph and Joe as more of a bromance than what he got going on. He's following Joe around like a lost puppy. Shoot, he cried over what happened to Paloma last week. This guy might cry over what's happening to Joe on Sunday night. I was going to say tomorrow night, but I keep forgetting they botched it. And see, that's another thing, production. I'm really disappointed that y'all are pushing this back. Y'all could have made tonight's episode a live eviction 2-hour episode. That way we could have feeds for the weekend. Now we got to sit here, sit tight. I don't even know feeds could be down right now. We got to wait until Sunday to watch some feeds? When we already know who going home tomorrow? Man, give us them feeds anyway. That's how I feel. Now, hopefully they're going to give us feeds anyway. Because there's no excuse to not give us feeds, all right? The streets need the deep dives. All right? But yeah, so understand, Turner, listen, man. Listen, he's on Young Marty watch right now. He's on Young Marty watch. Hey, Taylor calls them Thing 1 and Thing 2 on feeds. Exposed. You feel it, dig me? They literally go, wherever you go, I go. Okay, Jack and Jill type action. But, so yeah. So the game is shaking out very fluid, right? Brittany is clearly on the bottom of all the women. Taylor's at least above her right now. And I could create the argument that if Taylor keeps on the path she's going, I don't know. Now, Monte, he tried to offer some type of a deal to her, tried to apologize. The apology was so fake to me. Like, I maybe want to apologize. You maybe? See, when people say words like that, nah, bruh. When it comes to Paloma, you say exactly what's on your mind. Don't hesitate. Don't half-step the apology, because that means you don't halfway believe what you're saying. Say what it is. The guy keeps making it seem as if, oh, well, I have these issues with my father. So, and him and Taylor, they talked about, just how they grew up and stuff like that. That's dope and all, but it shouldn't have took you 13 days to have this talk with her. It shouldn't have taken you until you failed in every attempt to get her sent home to now care about her life at home. That's just weak. It's whack. And I'm sure Taylor can see through it. But that brings me to another situation involving Taylor. And listen, before we get into that, we need to get into Daniel, because this guy's a clown and the streets is like, yo, we need a rant. You heard about Chef Boyardee? I saw it, but I ain't going to give y'all no rant just because of Chef Boyardee. All right, we're going to add that on top like hot sauce. So if you've been under a rock, and once again, ladies and gentlemen, hit up the Cash App because they might claim this. This guy Daniel's an idiot.
Abdin.
Chef Boyardee Negro.
Yeah.
All right,
Now, for the people who don't know what they just heard, I'm not going to play it twice because I don't want to risk the slice. But Monte was cooking some food. And if y'all know anything about Monte, he's been as anti-black, self-hating saboteur as they come. For Daniel to go out of his way to say Chef Boyardee Negro, to clown that black man who is cooking himself some food, it once again shows you all I was right and made another spot-on prediction about him being sneaky anti-black. I'm telling y'all, I'm just good at this. I know who's sneaky and who ain't. I know who's the young Martys in disguise, coach. Huh? And at the end of the day, Daniel talks a big game, but he's clearly anti-black. Come on, man. Oh, I love Terrance, but you got to be a pawn. Oh, I love Taylor, but you got to be backdoored. Oh, I love Monte, but I trust him less than the other two blacks that I threw up already. Sure, he might have something in principle with Jasmine and Ameerah, but listen, let's keep it a bean in these streets. Daniel treats you better based off how light-skinned you are. That's what I'm seeing, at least. Now, the reason why it's important to mention this Chef Boyardee of it all is because on Sunday night, production gave house guests alcohol. And when they gave them alcohol, Taylor said some things I wish she would have never said. But I'm going to break down why this is all strategy, so there's no reason to lose your head.
So you like Daniel?
I don't like him. I want to make out with him.
I
want to make out with him.
You want to fuck
Also,
him. That's what that is.
He did say that he had to bring his own Magnum condoms because he doesn't fit the ones that are here. So, I'm trying to see what it's about.
Daniel said that?
Daniel said that. Yes, he
Guys,
did.
can someone
Just now.
make a showman have sex or something like that?
Somebody
Like,
just have
help
sex and
out.
make it.
Listen, okay, anyway.
Indy?
Back to
Indy?
what we were talking about before.
Just a fun little kisses, no biggie.
Have so much
No,
fun.
I can't.
Okay.
So as you all can see, Taylor alluded to the fact that she may or may not have a crush on Daniel because this guy says he needs Magnum condoms. Here's my take on it. Y'all know I would love to hold a sister accountable if she shows signs of swirling. But in this case, based off the position in the house that she was in, based on race, I'm not jumping to that conclusion with the sister that she's thirsty for this dude. He was just threw her on the block. This is 100% strategic acumen on Taylor's part, and she's playing 3D chess. Let me break this down. If Daniel nominated her because he was trying to acquiesce and placate to the wishes of non-black women who hated her, if Alyssa has beef with Taylor because she thought Taylor had a crush on Kyle, if Monte hates Taylor because women assume him and Taylor were being a showman just because both are black, Taylor killed 3 birds with 1 stone by acting like she's into that mediocre Elvis guy. I'll explain why. Now Alyssa is no longer threatened that this black girl wants her white guy. It's true. Also, Indy probably feels like, oh, I don't have any competition for Monte anymore because this chick is willing to backdoor him. Also, all the women appreciate the fact she's willing to backdoor Monte because none of them really can afford to do it themselves. And of course, okay, so all right, so we already mentioned, so we already mentioned Alyssa. We mentioned Indy in passing, the other women. But in Daniel's case, this is a guy who needs people. Daniel is a true beta male. What I mean by that is he needs positive reinforcement at all times to get the best out of him, right? If he sees you as an enemy, if he sees you as someone who's not willing to make him feel like an alpha, he'll start to target you because you're an alpha. The best thing to do with a beta is make them feel like they're the alpha, so they think you're the beta, so they never go after the true alpha. This is what I believe Taylor's really doing. By her saying she likes Daniel, it really disarms every woman from thinking she's competition for the attention of the hottest men, because no one wants Daniel. It also brings her closer to Nicole's inner circle, because if everyone assumes she's just thirsty for Daniel, oh, what's the natural next step? Bring her into our alliance. Smart gameplay. Across the board, to be honest. And by her saying that, a lot of people took her less seriously. Because they're like, oh, that's what you're into, girl? You can stay for a while. It worked. You fools. You think a woman capable of winning Miss Michigan is into this dude? Man, listen, I got some oceanside property in Wyoming to sell y'all. She's selling y'all a bill of goods and y'all falling for it because y'all want to believe this black woman isn't into who y'all are into. So she could tell y'all she into a pile of sand. And as long as that's not Kyle or Monte, a lot of women will be like, hey, well, she's a girl's girl to me. And that's what we're seeing. And by her declaring her crush is a guy who's aligned with the women on their side, it also guarantees she's not viewed as a threat, or the showman she's pursuing isn't viewed as a possible threat for the women either. When you really break this down, you can coin this, sisters. You can coin this, brothers. I'm calling this Taylor's lusty mist. She's fooling people into believing she is driven by sex, when in reality, this girl's the full package. You don't win Miss Michigan and not be very intelligent. Now, Am I willing to admit that in order to win those awards, she probably has dated men of all types of races? Of course. But do I think she's ever given the Daniels of the world the time of day? Hell no. And that's why I'm not falling for the okie doke. I don't care what comments come out of her mouth. She is playing the game. Now, granted, we didn't see nothing in the edit of her admitting this is gameplay, but that happened on Sunday night chronologically after Veto was played. Now, we did have the Veto ceremony tonight, so from a chronological standpoint, they could have fit that into the edit if they wanted to, but they didn't. So hopefully this is a good sign that production is breaking even here. We're not going to show Monty being off code, but we're also not going to show Taylor lusty miss towards Daniel. You know what? Now that I think about it, that's a fair trade-off, because I don't think the black community needs to see this sister on national television lust after a man who just backdoored her. We don't need to see that. So you know what? That can be something for the hardcore fans to know about. But with that said, we cannot act as if what Taylor did that night did not help her game, because no one sees her as a legitimate threat. There are people hoping and praying she wins the next HOH. Now, granted, I think there's a chance she could touch the block again next week and be a pawn all over again. But do I think she's on anyone's radar to win this game just yet? Not really, even though Joseph did say she's good. I mean, Joseph's probably the only guy in the house who's even alluded to the fact that this could all be gameplay on Taylor's end to just trick Daniel into stop going after her. Now, to be fair though, Daniel has said that he feels as if, even though Taylor does like him, he does feel like it's okay for him to continuously use her as a pawn. So in theory, it didn't really work to the highest of degrees because Daniel's still open to using her. But with that said, I don't think Daniel wants her to go home, though, during his next HOH anytime soon. And that still is a lot of progress. So that was my thoughts on that. But yeah, so listen, there's a lot of people who wanted me to discuss these two topics. I had to get them out the way. Understand, I'm not falling for the nonsense. All right? As for Joe Pucciarelli, I saw what happened in that veto comp tonight. Taylor and Michael dog walked you. As Steve Harvey would say,
got your ass whooped tonight.
You got your ass whooped, coach. And you needed that. And for Michael to win, and for your ass to try to pitch to him to use veto on you, when the past 2 weeks, all you've done is shitted on Michael passive-aggressively across that house. Listen, man, you should have known better to even pitch for that. And I gotta be honest, production, the edit tonight was weird. Why fit in a scene of them trying possibly to backdoor Joseph? That didn't play no real integral role in this weekend's feeds. None of that. You could have thrown the Monty stuff in there. You didn't have to necessarily show Nicole talking about her mother either. That felt a little out of place as well. I feel like that's something you should say for a Nicole coming back from a large deficit moment or a Nicole winning HOH moment. It felt a little out of place for me. It felt like they were trying to give her a winner's edit prematurely. But with that said, respect to Nicole, respect to her mother, and I hope she has a speedy recovery. I mean, they made it sound like she's still going through some things, so I wish the best for her. The same way I would wish the best for Mark's mother on Challenge All-Stars when I did those rants. So those are my thoughts on that. But yeah, Brittany, she's in big trouble, in my opinion. None of the women like her. Now Daniel doesn't like her. Nicole doesn't like her. And I thought Daniel and Nicole needed Brittany. Now it feels like she's expendable to them. They need to be careful. They could be making a valuable mistake with Brittany. The same type of mistake that, in my opinion, Monty may have made with Terrance, Daniel, and Michael. Right? The minute you start looking at a number as a number you don't need, when that's clearly a number in limbo that would love to flip, you're taking that number for granted a bit. And if you start to mistreat Brittany, you're only incentivizing Michael to not rock with you. And right now, Michael is technically on Daniel's side, but Daniel threw up Michael as well, and you know Michael wants Daniel gone soon. So it's one of them things where now that Jasmine is the one getting out Joe Pucciarelli, does this mean Michael's next target is Daniel over Turner, or does he still just want Turner gone? I think for Michael's short-term game and long-term, it makes more sense to get Turner out first because you want that bigger core alliance to believe you're down with them and you don't want no one taking a shot at you right after you take someone out. Best way to reconvene reintegrate into the house is to go after someone more so on the outs. Right now, with Joe Pucciarelli leaving the game, Turner seems to be the easy out. In my opinion, Joseph is the smarter out. Now, I think for everyone's sanity, they're going to want Turner gone before Joseph because he smells horrible. I'm trying my best not to curse. We cannot overlook how much hygiene plays a factor in gameplay. Listen, people will target you just for snoring at night in this game. Please believe, in a game that is based off close quarter combat such as whispering, you smelling like halitosis mixed in with mildew, that's not going to help you, bruh. That's not going to help you. That's not going to help you. You bringing a whole different H&M to the Big Brother house. And I ain't talking fashion. Come on, coach. Let's really talk about it. So, what you got to understand is, the game is shaking out in a fantastic way. Monte, he's all over the place, but he's trying to convince Taylor that, hey, I'm willing to let bygones be bygones moving forward. I'm sorry, yada, yada, yada. But him leaving it so late until the night or the day before Taylor stays over Joe, that should tell Taylor, I still can't rock with you, brother. And for Taylor's game, she can't really afford to go after anyone but Monte, right? Like, because that's the game. That's how she has pitched herself to the house as a reason for them to keep her, right? You should keep me because I'm willing to go after the person y'all not willing to go after. Similar to how Godfrey said, hey, I'll go after Zach with these hands, right? I'd argue Monte is Taylor's Zach in this situation now. Now, I personally believe Taylor would prefer Kyle to go before Monte, mainly because I think she sees Kyle as the most likely one to make the end while Monte isn't. And I think deep down the sister is pro-black enough to want to give Monte that second chance. I just don't want her to give him a second chance to her own detriment. And that's why I'm saying, listen, if you really want Monte gone, you got to throw him up next to Kyle, man. I know everyone, Monte's over here trying to pitch himself to Daniel for why Daniel should take out Taylor. You know she wins HOH. She's just going to throw me up next to you, Daniel. You know, now, in back of Daniel's mind, he's like, no, this chick got a crush on me. She ain't doing that shit, but I'm willing to throw her up. But with that said, at the end of the day, to what is really said and done, I truly believe if Taylor wins an HOH, she would be a fool if she's going to take that shot at Monte to not also take it at Kyle. At this point, you might as well go big, because the only person that's going to keep Monte from most likely winning a life or death veto is Kyle. It's just the smartest play. Why give Kyle the chance to be picked for veto, take Monte off, or be picked for veto, win it, keep noms the same, and Monte can't even be backdoored? It would be a cluster. Now, in theory, Taylor could just send home a Turner in that situation, and she could still reintegrate. But then she has, most likely, strong men still coming for her. I just want a situation where if she does win HOH, she can ensure her target leaves. And in my opinion, if Taylor can guarantee one of these strong men go, number one, if she could somehow get out Kyle before Monte, Alyssa's game's completely crippled. Completely crippled. I'd argue Indy's game is hurt a lot too, because she needs Alyssa to stay powerful for Indy to be able to work in the background. The minute Alyssa's game is no longer dominant is the minute I think Indy will start being targeted. But, ladies and gentlemen, I'm ready to start answering y'all questions. I'm ready to start hearing your thoughts on this game. Once again, it sucks we won't get another episode until Sunday evening. This gives me a few more days off, if I do say so myself. Patrons, y'all just might get a special package this weekend because there's no Big Brother for me to cover. That's all I'm gonna say. Become a patron today and find out what that package just might be. But I'm on my way to the Batcave. I'm ready to answer your questions. I would love to hear your thoughts on this week. As of right now, it's set in stone, in my opinion, that we're likely going to have, if not a 10-3 vote, an 11-2 vote, if not unanimous. I think for Turner's and Joseph's best interest, it should be 13-0. But I think if Joseph and Turner are continuously left in the dark from now until tomorrow, it could easily be 11-2. And I think personally for Monte and Kyle's best interest, they're better off just letting Joseph and Turner know, Joe's gone, let's make it 13-0. But also, for Monte and Kyle, it behooves them to leave Joseph and Turner on the outs so they're targets for the house before them two, right? It's an interesting situation, a balancing act there. You can't tell these men too much. You tell them too much, they start panicking. They start scrambling. And before you know it, they put your game in harm's way long term. But if you tell them nothing, and if they win power, there is a chance that those men could view Monte and Kyle as the biggest snakes because they didn't warn them, but still voted against them. And this is what Monte and Kyle were trying to avoid all week by getting answers. Unfortunately, they didn't get enough answers. Now, I think they have enough information to know that clearly Nicole and Ameerah are controlling the week, but as early as Tuesday evening, Monte was talking like he believed Jasmine was the one behind all of this. And if Monte's read is that Jasmine is some mastermind, this guy's as in the dark as I've ever seen. He's more in the dark than David Alexander was on BB21's premiere night. I'm just saying what it is. He's in the dark, coach. Get this man some ultraviolet scanning lights. Get him some night vision goggles because it's looking bad. I'm talking Tom Clancy Splinter Cell settings. It's looking bad for you, dog. But, all right, I'm ready to start answering y'all questions. I want to hear what y'all think. But yeah, it's one of them things where I could see a lot of different nominees next week depending on what happens on those feeds if we can't watch them. And that's what really sucks. I watch things and I notice things. If production shuts down feeds for 3 straight days, it almost negates the purpose of giving fans a live move-in at the beginning of the game. Because now we're 3 days behind all over again, you know? But yeah, I thought the veto comp was pretty whack. I think this week's comps altogether were trash. I can't tell if production was forced to scrap all them backstage comps, and that's what led them to have all these, let's just call them what they are, low-budget Nick Jr. comps. I don't know. Like, what does mermaids have to do with the festival? Mermaids aren't real, coach. Like, what? Huh? Like, well, we're having you eat pies. You eat pies at a festival. Okay, all right. Now we're going to have you be Little Mermaid and push pearls into clams. Huh? What's that got to do with festivals, though? Like, I don't get it. But it is what it is. And also, did you all peep Jasmine tonight? I told y'all she was going to come through with the down south cringy quotes, didn't I? This chick talking about, I'm more excited than an ant on sugar. What? Shorty said, it's going to be a blindside butterbean. I ain't never heard nobody say that before, dog. A blindside butterbean. I'm sorry, dog. Even if I hope production did not hand you that line. Because it didn't even make sense. A blindside butterbean. Listen, man. I like the days when Frenchie could be that level of crazy. I don't like seeing a black woman doing it. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. Dave, do you think Alyssa's a decent dancer? Not at all, coach. I think she embarrassed herself and her family tonight. And you know Kyle's family are Mormons. They're not going to be feeling what she's bringing. I'm just saying what it is. They're going to be like, stay far away from that woman. Stay far away. She's bad news, I tell you. Bad news. Eddie James has a question. The girls are tired of Indy because she's so protective of Monte. You agree? Well, she isn't just protective of Monte. And let's be honest. Indy told the ladies last night, if I'm not mistaken, she told them she would be perfectly fine. Well, she is kind of capitulated. At first she said she would want Kyle and Turner on the block to backdoor Taylor and send Turner or Kyle home. No. She said she wanted Kyle and Turner off the block. She wanted Kyle to come off to backdoor Taylor to send Turner home. She said that at first. But then the other day, she just got done saying she's okay with Monte being on the block. So it's weird. So maybe she feels like she has to bash Monte more because the women aren't feeling that. Maybe she's reading that room. But I don't believe she's too protective of Monte. Based off what I've seen, she could be closer to Joseph than Monte. They have some unique chemistry there. I think the social game Joseph is playing is quite underrated. His problem is, I think he's a bit of a recruit. And even though his nice guy tactics are working, I think the women he needs those tactics to work on the most aren't buying it the most, and that's his biggest flaw. Nicole and Ameerah can clock him from 30 miles away. And because of that, Joseph's going to have it really hard making jury, man. Even this week, they alluded to him possibly being backdoored, and that wasn't really in the cards based off what I saw on feed. Not really. Not really. You know, Jasmine loved the fact that Joe or Taylor was going home this week. Okay, she didn't want to muddy up that water like that. Don't believe the hype. Abdi asked the question, what game is Kyle and Turner playing? I feel like they're playing on easy mode. Well, Kyle specifically, he's definitely on easy mode. Turner's not on easy mode, okay? Now that Joe is in the crosshairs, trust me when I say he's going to be in the Hunger Games. Huh? That's just what it is. You know, nothing. Turner got to win out or else he's gone, in my opinion. If Turner, well, I'm not going to say that. If a guy wins the next HOH, right, not named Terrance, Daniel, Mike, no. Yeah, not named. Yeah, if someone wins HOH next week, man, not named Michael, Terrance, or Daniel, I think Turner's safe. But I think if those three win HOH, Turner could be in trouble. He could be nominated next to a Brittany. Could be nominated next to a Taylor. And at the end of the day, now that Daniel is working against the men's best interest, when I'd argue he always was because his number one from the start was Nicole. But I will say this, though. Nicole is getting away with flip-flopping really hard, and not that many players are noticing how flip-floppy she is. Like, I think Brittany is noticing it. I think Michael's noticing it. But outside of those two, I don't think that many people are noticing Nicole. Like, last week, she was, I'm all about the men. This week, I'm all about the women. That girl has been, listen, man, she's floating the power herself a little bit. Now, with that said, she wouldn't have been given the opportunity to do these things if that alliance wasn't dumb enough to include her over Taylor. But now that we know that Alyssa thought that Kyle and Taylor were flirting, it makes sense why Taylor was never even allowed to be included in that alliance. Alyssa would never allow it. Monte would never allow it. Therefore, Kyle would never allow it. And when half of the alliance is against someone emphatically, it's impossible to include them. That's why they agreed on Nicole. But I will say this, though. If we have to wait a few more days until we see more updates, I'm going to be salty about it because the game is starting to really get good. And if those feeds come back on Sunday, matter of fact, if we watching the episode on Sunday and we ain't seen no feeds since today, basically, and we see Monte, Kyle, Turner, or even Joseph as HOH, ugh. Not saying I want a game where the women dominate, but I think the men are more competent in winning these comps to where the women do need a numbers advantage to even the odds on some of these comps. I really do feel that way. But with that said, this is what we like about this game. The beginning of the week, I was very down on Jasmine being HOH, only to realize her being HOH is the perfect scenario for so many great female players this season because Jasmine got to take a lot of heat for a lot of the moves they're doing behind the scenes. You know, Ameerah found a way to kind of have Jasmine get somewhat partially blamed for the moves this week, even though her and Nicole were the most adamant in front of Monte's face. That's great gameplay. Alyssa does seem to, even because she has this 5-person alliance that incorporates Daniel and Nicole now, on top of the 6-person alliance that she also has with Nicole, Michael, Monte, Kyle, Ameerah, with them, and she has the girls, I could create the argument that right now Alyssa is sitting in arguably the best position because Ameerah and Nicole are being found out a little bit because they have to close the door on making sure Joe leaves. It kind of forces their game to come more to the forefront. Alyssa gets to take the backseat, let those other 2 women in that 6-person alliance do a lot of that heavy lifting, which should benefit Alyssa, especially if one of these strong men win HOH, because they're not mad at any woman within that alliance named Alyssa. They're mad at Nicole and Ameerah, if anything, because they feel like they allowed it to be a house decision without consulting the alliance itself. So if anyone takes, if that 6 does implode, I think it is the best case scenario for Taylor's game long term, because what she needs is for that 6 to implode. She needs someone from that 6 to go home ASAP, no Rocky. Because the minute that happens, it forces the women within that 6 to either rely on that 5 that includes Daniel and Nicole, that already has Taylor's back to a certain degree, or it forces them to create a new deal that hopefully includes Taylor in it and doesn't include Brittany in it. And that's really the win condition I see for Taylor long term, but I'm ready to start answering some more questions. Devin says, a scenario where Taylor is HOH and nominates Monte and Kyle. Monte wins veto. Alyssa's replacement and Kyle. Oh, Devin. See, that's why I said the best play is Kyle and Monte straight up. Don't piss off no Daniel to get even over some petty shit when you still want him to think you got a crush on him. No, let that marinate a little bit. That'll buy you some weeks, girl. Let's just keep it a bean in these streets. And her going out of her way to say I'm not into Monte at all bought her some more weeks in these streets. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'd argue Ameerah may have made a long-term mistake by telling Monte that Taylor was willing to backdoor him. But if that is what assisted Monte in hurting his game and spiraling out of control, Ameerah deserves credit for making Monte break bad a bit. So it's one of them things where if Ameerah ends up winning this game, man, we're going to look at her edit like, whoa. It's damn near Vanessa Russo levels of how often her work rate is. Like, she's always scheming on something. And she knows how to do it in a way where it's not completely blatant. Jacob says on live feeds, it looks like Ameerah might vote to keep Joe and blame it on Brittany. That would be a solid game move for her because at the end of the day, Brittany is making it seem like Daniel will vote to keep Joe. So they could just do it to automatically frame Brittany. Very similar to the move during BB22 in which David Alexander once again was framed for a vote he never committed against Ian. Yeah, when Ian was on the block next to Tyler. Shout outs to you, Tevin. He asked a question. Dave, do you think everyone besides Taylor is overplaying? Absolutely. I'd say everyone besides Taylor, even Brittany. I think Taylor and Michael are probably the only players playing it smart. Michael has said his ideal Final Four is Indy, Taylor, and Brittany. I don't know how he gets those three in his Final Four. Michael would have to be... Listen, I want to be like Mike. That's an understatement. If he gonna have to carry a lot of bums to make it there. I'm just saying what it is, huh? He gonna need to carry some Bill Winningtons, you know, if he wants them four in his Final Four. I'm just saying. But yeah, I do believe, I agree with you on that. I do believe a lot of these players are overplaying, and that should lead to them becoming targets for each other over Taylor the minute Taylor stops being used as the pawn every week. And that's why I'm hoping she gets a week like that to kick her feet up. And that's why if we want her to have the opportunity to kick her feet up, the only option really is her winning HOH. Because a lot of people look at Taylor as an easy pawn. They see how well she conducts herself under pressure. They see how bad Terrance was under pressure. They don't want to lose his number. No one wants to throw a big player like any of these other men up. Michael's been winning comps. You can't risk him. So you pretty much use Taylor as the pawn every time to get out the person you want. And that's not what we wanted now that backstage is gone. So it's tough. Yeah, it's probably going to be 11-2, 10-3. Because you just said, Jacob, that likely Ameerah will go ahead and throw that hinky. So, yeah, 10-3 sounds about right. Yes, I did hear about the bestie twist, but I don't know the details of it, ladies and gentlemen. If y'all know what the details are, can you comment below? Because as soon as the episode ended, I pretty much got into, pre-production mode in terms of getting the setup correct for the rant. Golden Age asks a question. Who would you want Taylor to team up with in this bestie twist? Okay, so the bestie twist is meant for two players to team up? Does that mean they're... Hold up, man. Let me just search this up, man. BB24 bestie twist. What is this? All right, let's see. Fans were promised new twist. Hold up. A Big Brother bestie twist is coming. Yeah, see, I don't know what the bestie twist entails. Can y'all comment below and tell me what it entails? I'm looking up articles right now, but they're not really telling me nothing. Yeah, I don't really see any updates on that. But listen, if Taylor has the option to pick another player as her bestie, see, I wonder if if it has any impact on if you're HOH or not. Because if she's HOH, I would tell her to pick Alyssa as her bestie, someone like that. If she's not in power, oof. I think for the continuity of the gameplay she's building, I think she has to choose Daniel or Nicole, right? I don't think anything else really makes sense from a house standpoint. No one else would make sense out of it. Everyone would go, oh, she chose Nicole or Daniel. That makes sense. They went to bat for her. Or Nicole went to bat for her and Daniel is her crush. I could see someone go, oh, that makes sense. There's nothing mischievous about that. But yeah, I don't really know the details of the twist. If I knew the details of the twist, I'd be able to go into deep dive mode on y'all with that. But I'm looking at it. I don't think anyone knows the actual twist yet. Hold on, let me go on Twitter and see if anyone knows the bestie twist. Besties twist. Yeah, this some pop the trunk type stuff. I know y'all ain't gonna see me till Sunday, so I ain't in no rush to leave. I'm actually looking at and see, people are saying the feeds might be off during the bestie twist, which is another negative here. Okay, all right. All right, so shout outs to Sharon Tharp. She says very minimal details on the twist. Sounds like house guests will be put into pairs or besties, and a new competition will be introduced. What is this, the Rachel Riley twist? Come on, coach. What is this? Is this the Jordan Lloyd twist? I'm sorry, bruh. I'm sorry. But I can't be the only one looking at this twist and going, wait, what is this? What is this, BB13? I'm just saying, looking at this twist. Hold on, let me read this one more time. Sounds like house guests will be put into pairs or besties, and a new competition will be introduced. Listen, man, my reaction to this tweet is simple. I don't really know what to believe. Now, I think the funnier duos that we could have would be Turner, who smells like shit, and oh, Turner and Indy would be funny. Turner and Jasmine. That would be funny because she got that bum ankle. He smells like shit. She can't escape the smell. It writes itself, baby. It writes itself. You know what? That could be interesting, coach. You know, anything to throw a twist, no pun intended, into the game, throw a wrench into it, make these players think outside of what's on the precipice of their minds. I'm gonna support that. But with that said, I don't know how this is gonna work though. I don't know. Because in theory, this could be a twist that ruins someone's game too, right? So it's one of them things where I don't know how to feel until I really see it implemented. I don't know how. Oh yeah, her accent fake as hell, coach. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a blindside butterbean. Farming isn't all sunshine and rainbow. I'm saying, Oliver, man, she be on the Forrest Gump side of the game, dog. Back in the day at the farm, we used to always say, one egg in the hen is better than an egg in the hen. I'm like, huh? Like I'm making stuff up now. But my point is, it sounds like something she could say. That's my point. Like, yo, come on, man. She should have been rehearsing some of these down south lines, you know what I'm saying, before she got on this show. She should have had something in the pocket ready. I'm just saying. Thank you. I appreciate you posting that link. Shout outs to you. Abdi asked a question. If Frenchie was on BB24, do you think he would have been a mastermind? No, but I think Sarah Beth would have dog walked some of these girls. I think she would have been a problem. And for all of you who have stayed up to date with the worst of first on BB23 after the season, I'm the one who told people Sarah Beth Biles was the fourth best player of BB23. After the Xaviers, the Tiffany's, and the Kylands, they're Sarah Beth. So I definitely have always been very high on her game. And it's good to see people are putting respect on her name. Rod asked a question. Coach, do you see Daniel being taken out before a jury? No, but I hope so. I think the guy's annoying as hell. I mean, what a try-hard during that veto comp. You see the way he was hosting that comp? He clearly was trying to outshine Kyle from a week ago. He's trying to prove, hey, I'm the one with theater chops now. You know, everybody was giving Kyle all these compliments. Now you got him trying to outdo Kyle. So, but yeah, I just don't like Daniel. I really don't. Trouble Curls asks the question, how do you feel about Joseph telling Joe to stop touching him so much? Listen, man. Joseph is a proud Muslim man, Arab Muslim man. I'm pretty sure he's not with none of that. That's all I'm going to say. Carl P says Michael should chill out on winning comps. He's sitting pretty nice on both sides. I agree with that. If I'm Michael, I take the next 2 weeks off if possible, at least. And let's be honest, he only won this veto because Taylor didn't win it, right? He had to make sure Joe didn't win it because he wanted to keep Taylor and he wanted Joe to go. So at the end of the day, I don't blame him for winning this one. And last week it was do or die for him. So at the end of the day, I'm not really that mad at Michael. Context matters. I don't think he's necessarily this big comp beast just because he won 2 vetoes based off of what led to him winning both. And that's my thoughts on that. Please do not forget to smash that like button, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, Ameerah is definitely running that house right now, Selena. She's a problem child, coach. She's a problem. And see, that's the thing, man. All these people work with all these people. If I was in that house, boy, oh my God, me and Ameerah would do a mazza up in there, man. Do a madness. I don't care if she in a women's alliance. I'd be the one to make her go, you know what? Screw Daniel. This is the guy I have faith in right here. Hotep Thanos in the building. You know what I'm saying? Jewel says no one has a strategy. It makes it hard to like anybody. The house guests talk too much. That is a fair criticism. It does feel like a collage of just random personalities that production just picked and threw in a house. But with that said, I'd be lying to you if I said I haven't been entertained as much as I have been in the first 2 weeks of this game. Ain't that many seasons got me this entertained first 2 weeks. Except maybe Celebrity Big Brother maybe? And that's because the season's only 3 weeks long. But you get my point. Wow, everyone agrees Ameerah is running it. And that's what's up. So I guess now is the good time to do a power rankings for you all, ladies and gentlemen. First place. It goes to Ameerah. Of course, but y'all knew that already. Second place. I'm still going to keep Michael in second. I really do believe, at the end of the day, he's playing a very good game. Third place. I'm going to go Alyssa now. I think she jumped back into the top 5. And I think that's because she now has another 5-person alliance with Nicole and Daniel. That leapfrogs her over Nicole, who's now in 4th. Nicole would be 4th place for me. And 5th place, I'm still going to go Kyle because he is trying to build a relationship with Brittany on the side. Which is a little bizarre. Well, with Brittany and Michael, which is a little bizarre to me because it's like he knows Brittany's on the outs with the women without being privy to certain conversations the women are having. Is Alyssa telling him things when no one's watching? Things that make you say, I think Kyle sees that possibly his best chance of winning this game is maybe aligning with Michael, Brittany, and Alyssa forming a 4. That's a hot take on my end. Now, Michael's got to be careful, though. Brittany rats out everybody she comes into contact with. So that could be the kiss of death for his game if he starts telling Brittany too much intel. But with that said, as of right now, he hasn't told Brittany much. And it does seem as if the Women's Alliance doesn't like Brittany. They're after Brittany. So it probably behooves Brittany to work with men herself. The problem is the game isn't built on just gender lines anymore. It's much more blurrier than that, right? Like if I had to break down the way this game is separated, this is how I would document it. Hold on, give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. I wrote this down. But it's easier to explain if I see it on paper. All right, so this is how I'd break it down. This is how I see the game. Nicole, Ameerah, Taylor, Daniel, Terrance, Jasmine, Michael, and Brittany. That 8 is versus Kyle, Monte, Joseph, Turner, Joe, Indy, and Alyssa. I personally believe that's how the game is shaking out, just naturally, okay? It might not seem that way right now on surface level. Right now, it might seem like, oh, it's the Girls Alliance plus Michael plus Terrance plus Daniel. It's not necessarily that. Because in my opinion, Indy and Alyssa are pushing closer towards working with men, okay? Out of all the women, they're pushing more towards that win condition. All the other women are pushing towards working with women plus a few men. And as for the men, Daniel, Terrance, and Michael are basically the Indy and Alyssa of the men that want to work with the women. So it's really, it's really captivating in a sense. Because if you miss a day of feeds, you don't know what you missed. You don't know what subtle nuance led to this player not wanting to really want to rock with that player. Now they're subtly dissing this player. Things change on a dime. In 2 weeks, we've seen so many targets come and go. We've seen so many resurface. We've seen some targets that haven't been pointed out yet starting to make themselves into some because they don't know when to shut up. Monty. So understand, ladies and gentlemen, I believe if Joe leaves, I believe if Taylor were to leave this week, we would have a 7 versus 7 next week. I think with Joe leaving, we are likely to have an 8 versus 6 next week, with Kyle, Monte, and Alyssa being the most compromised. I think that's the most likely scenario. With Joe leaving, we could see a scenario where there are 8 people in the majority gunning for HOH to make sure they can stump out some variation of the other 6. Now, the people within that 8 just might use Taylor as a pawn to get out someone within that 6 to keep up appearances with the rest of that 6 to make them believe the game isn't fully split. But based off what I've seen thus far, the momentum is on the side of the women plus Taylor, plus Daniel, Terrance, and Michael. The momentum is on their side. And once that momentum starts to heat up, you're in trouble in this game. We've seen it too many times. And that's why I'm excited. Even though I'm down on production, making us wait till Sunday for the next episode, even though I've hated the fact that the game had to start off as an anti-black Armageddon, which slowly but surely started to level itself out to be less prejudice, I gotta admit, this game has been pretty good. Because we've never seen a Girls Alliance really stick to it this long, so that is a culture shock. We got Taylor, who was being stumped out by the Women's Alliance. Now she's included at the girls' table. And now Brittany is being stumped out. It's like, what? We got Monte, who didn't want to believe a Girls Alliance existed, only for him to come to the acceptance, the stages of grief of it all, to realize this black woman had my back all along. These chicks ain't shit. Now Monte got to come to Taylor and apologize because now he realizes he looks like a damn fool in these streets. The problem is, if production ain't showing your lowlights, they not showing your apology either. So you ain't really made up for none of your wrongdoing to the public yet, to the casuals yet. And I don't even believe you made up for your wrongdoing yet to live feeders because we don't believe you're sincere. So it creates a unique situation where there are so many ways we could get fan service next week. With the duo twist, we don't know how that's going to play a factor in it all. But one thing is for certain, Monte, who usually is very smooth, knows what to say, he showed everyone this week when he starts to not get his way, he comes off like a spoiled child. And players like that are not players normally you want to make jury with you because you can't gauge whether or not they'll be an emotional voter or a logical one, seeing as Monte refused to be logical when it came to Taylor 2 weeks in a row. The proof is in the pudding, y'all. You know what I mean? Run me over and call me dinner. I see you, Abdi. I knew that was meant to imitate the Jasmine voice when I read it. I could just tell how you did the caps. But ladies and gentlemen, please smash that like button. If you have any other questions, I would love to answer them. Once again, I'm not in a rush to leave you all. I appreciate the support. I wish we had another rant tomorrow night to dive into. Because we don't, I would love to dive deeper into some more things. Just run some information by me and I'll give you my take on it. Like, legitimately, y'all, I'm over here scrolling through notes trying to make sure I didn't leave nothing out. But I got to tell you, when I saw Monte tell Ameerah he would love nothing more than to lose to a woman, a black woman, I'm over here like, wait. And mind you, he didn't say that to Taylor. So that's when I knew all this nigga lying to Taylor. He wouldn't even say that to her, right? I want everyone black to make jury, even though I was cool with you and Terrance being the first 2 boots of the season. But yeah. I'm sorry, though. Racky? Brad Pitt asks the question, why is Brittany disliked? Brittany's disliked because Ameerah is running the house. No, but for real though, Brittany made mistakes, coach. She made mistakes. She snitched on Ameerah to Joe Pucciarelli. Joe Pucciarelli's going home this week. Huge mistake. When you're in a women's alliance, you don't give up a woman to a guy. What kind of pick-me gameplay is that? And she was backstage. So if Joe Pucciarelli has no vote, I don't even understand what she was trying to gain. Well, maybe she thought, well, he's backstage boss. Maybe he's the one who can determine my safety. So let me give him something. He'll give me something back. Actually, she did admit that. But with that said, it was still poor gameplay. Because she ended up winning the America's vote. She didn't have the confidence she would win it because she thought Paloma and Alyssa would wash her in it. And that's what made her desperate enough to do that, to essentially turn on Ameerah. And all that did was ruin Brittany's chances of working with other people. And now that Daniel and Nicole are both anti-Brittany as well, no one even talks game in the HOH room when Brittany is there. They talk more game when Terrance is around than when Brittany's around. It's mind-blowing. A girls' alliance talks more game when 2 men are in there than when this white girl is. And they were anti-black week 1. Ladies and gentlemen, if this ain't progress, I don't know what is. I'm just saying what it is. Listen, man, I had a dream. And I feel like I'm living in it right now. Because I can't believe after the cookout 1, we still got 3 black folks that made it to week 3. Well, 5 black folks that made it to week 3. This is insane. And each week, all 5 survive. Taylor's game begins to thrive. You feel it, dig me, coach? I hope I answered your question well, Brad Pitt. Good luck on your new movie. What is it called? Ghost Train. Looks decent. Looks a little bit like a Snowpiercer knockoff, but we'll let that ride. Snowpiercer, my show. Jasmine's name is Craven from now on. What's the timestamp for that quote on Monte? Which timestamp? Because I can provide that for you, coach. Which timestamp are you asking for? You talking about the one where he said he wanted a black woman to win? Or you talking about the one where he was trying to pander to Taylor? Because the one where he said he wanted a black woman to win, I believe this was Tuesday. Hold on, I'm going through it. Let me see. Hold on, it's. Oh, here it is right here. Yep, this got to be it. Okay, so it was around 5 p.m., which is depending on what time zone you are. That could be 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what cam this is. But this is when Ameerah and Monte were by the pool table upstairs. And I believe this is also when Ameerah hit him with the pool stick and made Monte go. It was pretty funny, if I'm being honest. But so I documented it here. But I gave you the timestamp. Ameerah speaks to Monte around 5 p.m. She admits she wants Brittany gone before Taylor. But then when Monte started pushing for Taylor to go before Brittany, she said, I'm okay with Taylor leaving before Brittany. That's when I knew. Nah, Ameerah wants Taylor around for a minute. That's why I'm team Ameerah right now. I ain't going to stunt with you. This ain't colorism, sisters. Because she's supporting Taylor. All right? That needs to be stated. But with that said, so yes, Ameerah then switches it up to saying Taylor can go before Brittany. Hearing Monte complain about the girls being upstairs all week is funny because the women had the same problem last week. Ameerah also has an excuse that because of Jasmine's injury, everyone has to stay up there. Monte then says what happened to Joe didn't feel like a group decision. So he's crying there, oh, we're supposed to be part of this post-Paloma group, and y'all didn't fill me in. But the truth is, Monte, you didn't fill nobody in the group in when you ran to Paloma with that information on Taylor. You didn't bring everyone within the six together and say, hey, what should I do with this information Taylor told me? You didn't do that because you was trying to get brownie points from Paloma. Huh? That's what you was trying to do. You was trying to toss her Greek salad. Huh? You was okay with all the mayonnaise known to man for that tuna salad. Let's keep it real in these streets, dog. So I ain't trying to hear it, but let's get deeper into the timestamp. Ameerah did a fantastic job coming up with alibis for why she played this week the way she did. This would led to Monte running with the assumption that Jasmine was behind this entire week. Ameerah keeps trying to tell Monte it's too late to flip the vote. Then Monte asks her to count the votes. Ameerah counts at least 8 votes, but Monte doesn't believe that Terrance and Daniel have confirmed because they are lying to his face. I believe when he realized Terrance and Daniel already confirmed his vote to Jasmine, I believe that's when Monte said, "Oh, I need to go ahead and just vote for Joe to go." Because that's when he realized I don't have all the men anymore. And if he did any more digging, any more prodding, he would just make himself into a deeper target, right? And see, that's the thing. Now Monte knows Terrance has been playing him. And I promise y'all when I say this, Monte talks to Terrance almost as if he doesn't think he's capable of playing him. It's almost as if Monte uses pro-blackness over Terrance's head so Terrance can never play for himself, as Monte plays anti-black and uses pro-blackness over Taylor's head as a reason to target her. It's not really fair if I'm being honest, but you got to notice it to see what I'm saying. If Monte was any good, he would realize Daniel and Terrance already flipped a long time ago. If he realized how much Kyle likes Alyssa, he would know Kyle isn't risking a showmance for no damn Poochie. But he will risk it all for the coochie. Now, Monte then says if he is going to lose to anyone, he wants it to be a woman, and a black woman. This is the same guy who has dedicated his game to hurting black women's chances of winning it. Even he is trying to pander to Ameerah, and it's coming off as pure grifting. So I definitely documented it. You can go look it up, and when you hear that conversation, the minute he says, all I want is to lose this game. If I'm going to lose this game, I want to lose it to a woman, a black woman. When I heard that, I said, this was the same Negro a week ago in front of Daniel saying, I know I'm black, but I'm Puerto Rican, and, you know, because I'm Puerto Rican and I'm from Delaware and I'm unaware of what's going on, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, what happens is what happens, you know. Listen, Taylor should have never told me that lie. Then we get to this week, he won't even admit. You know, you told me the truth last week. I was wrong for not listening to you. Now I 100% can trust you. He don't even say that. He says, we need to start working on trusting each other. Motherfucker, you the one who took the truth for a lie. She needs to trust you. No one cares if you trust her because we know you never will. So at the end of the day, you need to prove yourself to Taylor. Taylor don't got to prove herself to you. The only reason why you having this conversation is because you know she gonna stay and you know you got to keep dealing with her. And you can't afford to go another week out of 3 without having any type of cordial relationship with her, or else you're going to really look bad. So it's one of them things where Monte it's almost like a kid don't want to do the dishes, but they need to do the dishes to go outside and play ball. So while they're doing the dishes, they half-ass it, leaving shit all over the plates, all over the cups, not fully clean, but they in a rush just to get out the house. That's Monte to me. Even though the conversation he had with Taylor was over an hour long damn near earlier today, it wasn't rushed to a degree. It did feel like he was going through a speed dating conversation. Like, bro, this could have been chopped up over the last 2 weeks, 10 minutes at a time, 10 minutes at a time, 10 minutes at a... But because you refuse to talk to her at all, because you're holding on to a grudge over a woman that no longer exists because she's in the shadow realm, now you're trying to do all this catching up with her in a day that you could have been working on for 13 days. No matter how you shake it, it's looking like scary hours for this brother. And if he ain't careful, it's going to be Friday the 13th for his ass real soon. I'm just saying what it is, coach. I'm just saying what it is. He looking crazy in these streets. He's looking crazy. The way he's played this game has been as foul as Turner's smell, as his aroma. You feel it, dig me? That's all it is. But yeah, so that was me providing that timestamp for you. Go look it up. Cringe on your own. Enjoy that one. I'm seeing so much grifting from this guy, Monte. Listen, I'm starting to lose count of it. But listen, I am someone who is a proponent of people do deserve second chances. People do deserve the opportunity to right their wrongs. Now, I don't believe the deal he tried to concoct with Taylor is real at all. But if he follows through with this down the line and he plays a codified game from this moment forward, he could be redeemable. But he's got to put a lot of action in to prove this, because he put a lot of action in to try to ruin that sister's game. So now you got to put in the same amount of energy and effort towards helping her game. And sorry, but so far, only Ameerah and Nicole have been putting in that type of leg work, not your black ass. And that's why, until further notice, we cannot trust that what you're doing is real. What you're doing is honest. What you're doing is sincere. Until we see you win an HOH, let Taylor have the week off, we're always going to assume you're after her. And that's really your biggest problem here, Monte. You're the boy who cried wolf in these streets. And you know what happened to the boy who cried wolf? Eventually, he started telling the truth to everyone, but no one was around to really care or hear. Well, Taylor, she told you the truth a week ago. You weren't around to hear or care. Now you're trying to tell her something that could be true or false, but she has the same right to disregard everything on your mind like you did to her. So when that energy is kept towards you, I don't want to see any hurt feelings about it. I don't want to see you mad, and I don't want to see you angry. Because at the end of the day, you made your bed, and now it's time to lay in that thing. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. This was the 9th rant of Big Brother 24, entitled Screw the Pooch. And Joe is screwed, and I think Monte may have screwed himself by not knowing when to take the back seat to the apex predator players. I'm Dave Smith of Recency Bias Radio, with no one is safe from criticism. And I'll see y'all on Sunday night, all right? Patrons, I got y'all with a surprise in a couple of days. Don't worry. Until next time.